You ready? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa mawalah. Amma ba'd. Tonight is Laylatul Ahad. Sorry, Laylatul Ithnain. The night of Monday, because the night is preceding the day. And it is the 27th of Jumaadaa Al-Uulaa 1445, the 10th of December 2023. This is the first class in the book of Al-Tasfiyah wa Al-Tarbiyah. Al-Tasfiyah wa Al-Tarbiyah for Al-Imam Shaykh Al-Albani rahimahullah. And this topic will be finished inshallah in about 8 classes maximum. First of all, I'll give an introduction for the Shaykh, who he is a Shaykh. And after that, I'll give an introduction for the book itself. So the Shaykh Al-Albani rahimahullah, Hadith al-Asr. If I'm going to talk about him, it's going to be a long talk, but we will make sure that we do as much as we can. I'm reading here from the biography of the Shaykh, which you could find it in the introduction of Sifat Salat al-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His name is Muhammad Nasir al-Din al-Albani ibn Adam Najati, by birth in Albania, Dimashqi by residence, and the Jordanian due to his migration and place of death. He died in Jordan. He was born into a poor family in the city of Ashqodra, which is the capital of Albania at that time. And Shaykh rahimahullah comes from a religious family which is abiding by the deen. The Shaykh's family migrated from their place of birth to Bilad al-Sham, Damascus, capital of Syria. That was due to the Ahmad Zogo, the one who was leading Albania at that time, following the steps of Kemal Ataturk, who was a disbeliever. And he imposed upon, he was a Muslim, pretending to be a Muslim, is imposing upon the Muslim to look like anything but Muslim. No women, no hijab, and they have to put the French hat, the Western hat, and also the men as well, to be westernized. Same thing, Ahmad Zogo, he followed this person's steps. So the father of Shaykh Al-Albani decided to take him to Bilad al-Sham, migration. The first teacher of the Shaykh Al-Albani is, of course, his father. His father is a scholar. He's a mufti in the madhab of Al-Hanafi. So Shaykh Al-Albani's father is a scholar. And the Shaykh's father, he studied in Istanbul, which is the city in Turkey. And under his father's guidance, Shaykh Al-Albani studied the Quran and also the Tajweed, the whole of the Quran, the Arabic. And then he studied as well the Hanafi fiqh, because his father was on the Hanafi methodology. He studied also the Arabic language under Shaykh Sa'id al-Burhan. He would attend the lectures of a number of scholars. The Shaykh met some scholars in his time, like Ahmad Shakir, the well-known muhaddith. Also, he met Shaykh Abdul Samad Sharafuddin, the great scholar of India. And also, Shaykh Al-Albani rahimahullah, he had met other scholars like Shaykh Ibn Baz, Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, rahimahumullah. Now, he was known to be the muhaddith of the Asr, the person who was holding the flag of the hadith at his time. Nobody can match him in the hadith, to the extent that Shaykh Ibn Baz said, I don't know anyone underneath the heavens who was more knowledgeable than Shaykh Al-Albani in the hadith. He was matched to Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani. Hajar al-Asqalani, he is the one whom the Shaykh al-Albani used to say, mothers were unable to give birth to somebody like him. Shaykh al-Albani was the same at his time, so he's like the Imam ibn Hajar at his time. Shaykh al-Albani rahmatullahi alayh, he met also some scholars from other countries like the Shaykh of Ubaidillah al-Rahman, the one who used to fight the Sufis in Morocco. His hadith skills unmatched. His hadith skills unmatched. And if I want to talk about how many scholars talked about this, it's endless. Sheikh was invited to teach the hadith at an Islamic university. Remember, he did not have any academic teaching, meaning he did not go to university and graduated. No, the Sheikh, he had read the whole Zahiriyya, the Maktab al-Zahiriyya. So he's appointed to be the teacher, like a professor. So he's the professor of the professors, yet he hasn't got any certificate at the Medina University. And Shaykh al-Albani, he started his knowledge at the beginning where he was in love, because remember, he had started the education, which is in the Hanafi madhab, and slowly, gradually, he was taken to the path of the hadith. The Shaykh al-Albani rahmatullah alayhi, he had read the whole Maktab al-Zahiriyya. Maktab al-Zahiriyya, I don't know how to describe it to you. So I went into it, alhamdulillah. So if you have a town hall library, it's about 3-4 times that one. All of it manuscripts. Manuscripts is different from typed. Printed is very easy to read. Makhtutat, it's a person's writing. So you have to be familiar with the writing of whatever scholar you're reading to. So some of the scholars, their writings are not as good. Some of them, they are the nusakh, the one who writes for the sheikh. So sometimes the writing is faded out. So you have to really make sure that, what is this word? Is this letter such and such? So reading the manuscript is so different from reading a relaxing printed book. That's very relaxed. So you're talking about sometimes small prints as well. And the sheikh used to, basically there's a story of the lost paper. I'm not going to go through it, but the sheikh, he ended reading the whole of the library. And that is more than, something like 100,000 manuscripts. Read it once. And while he was reading, he was just looking for something which is missed in the papers. It's a booklet. SubhanAllah. And he ended up with the Marad al-Dubaba, the fly disease. I don't know if I'm saying disease here. It's like when you look, you see there's a fly in your eye. See, there's a fly. Marad al-Dubaba. So he went to the doctor. The doctor told him to relax for at least 6 months not to read. No way you can put the Shaykh al-Albani for 6 months to read. This is his, his love is the library. That's why he tried to give some sort of task to other people, to person to go and look for him this treatise which has been written by some scholars at the time, then Malahib ibn Hazm, which he found that there is something missing from that. Malzama is called, about 16 pages. So he thought maybe it is being sewn in a different volume. That's why he started looking for that 16 pages, which we call Malzama. So he ended up reading the whole. While he was reading, he finding treasures. So the second time he read it as well, and he started to note everything that he had, and then he read it for the third time. So imagine, he read the whole of those 100,000 of manuscripts 3 times. So whenever he wants to take something from the top shelf, he needs steps like ladder, small ladder. So he will end up into the top of the ladder. He doesn't want to go down again, reading it on the top. 6 hours on top of the ladder. But on top of feet he's got. So 6 hours on top of the ladder, because he doesn't want to go down. 6 hours reading, and then after that, then he puts it back, and then he goes down. He doesn't want to go down because he wants maybe something else on the top. And the Sheikh, he made a contents for the whole of the library. What does it have? So the contents of the Maktab al-Zahiriyya, of the Makhtutat, the Shaykh al-Albani had done it. So Allah Azza wa Jalla, actually, he had created him for this. He was created for that. His work, rahimahullah, he had done so many books, more than 100 books. But some of the books, in one, for example, it's got 13 volumes, like in Silsila al-Da'ifa. That's one book. It's called Silsila al-Da'ifa, 13 volumes. Each volume that thick, in which he had checked more than 40,000 hadiths. Shaykh al-Albani checked more than 40,000 hadiths, rahmatullah alayhi. Now these days you have al-Maktab al-Shamil. It's something very on the tips of your fingers, mashallah, very quick, but not at the time of the Shaykh. When you find something, you want to know that it is authentic or not. The scholars who praised him, so many, Shaykh ibn Baz, Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen, they said that he is the reviver of the deen. Prophet ﷺ, he said, on every 100 years, there will be a person who would revive the religion. Person who would revive the religion. So every 100 years, there will be a person who would make the religion to be awakened. And those revivals, they have conditions. Number one is that their knowledge is to be known at the beginning of the century. So they are known. So we have, for example, Shaykh al-Albani is the Mujaddid of 14th century, because he was alive in the year 1400 and he was known. And also the Mujaddid is the one whom sets the milestones for the manhaj, for the methodology. The Mujaddid, he will make sure that the Islam is not being polluted by poisoned ideologies. That's the task of the Mujaddid. When Shaykh ibn Baz asked about the Mujaddid, who is he in this era? So we know the Mujaddid at the time from the beginning, but we know who's the Mujaddid in this era. She said Shaykh Muhammad Nasir al-Din al-Albani rahimahullah. Shaykh al-Albani was invited to know so many universities. Brother, did you pray Tahiyat al-Masjid? You need to pray 2 rak'ah before you sit down. It's a masjid. It looks like not a masjid, but it's a masjid. Nobody can come and sit down. You have to be 2 rak'ah before we sit down. It's a masjid. Come forward. And these children, come, somebody tell them to come forward. I don't know. I've given up. Bye. Shaykh Salih al-Uthaymeen rahimahullah said, from what I came to know about the Shaykh al-Albani through my gathering with him, and it was a few times, that he's a very serious person and acting upon the Sunnah. He lived his life in Sunnah and he died upon Sunnah. And he fights the innovation, the bid'ah. Rahmatullahi ala Shaykh. The great scholar Shaykh Zayd ibn Fayyad, he said, indeed, Shaykh al-Albani is from the most prominent and distinguished personalities of this era. Some scholars, they said that he comes from the era of the followers, generation of the companions, but he came later on. You know, we have, for example, Hasan al-Basri, Sa'id ibn Jubayr, Imam al-Sha'bi. Those are great scholars from the era of the generation came after the companions, called the Tabi'un. So they say Shaykh al-Albani, he's from the Tabi'un era, but he came later on. Came what? 1,000 years after that, because of his scholarship. The person, when he talks like the scholars from the old time. Rahmatullahi alayhi. Shaykh Muqbil ibn Hadi is a student of his in Medina. Every time he wants to discuss a hadith where he thinks it is correct, and the Shaykh al-Albani made it not correct, he went inside. He said, my knowledge or my whatever I've got in my brain evaporates. The Shaykh has got a fear. You sit with him, you get scared. The fear of the knowledge, straight away. Whatever you've got, you'll be shaken. You'll be shaken. When you ask the Shaykh, you'll be shaken. You're really scared. That's Allah, he gave it to the Shaykh. The Shaykh's an old man. As soon as you see him as well, he's all in glowing light, subhanAllah. Rahimahullah. The light which is the light of the Nur of the Hidayah, not the light of the Sufis. That's something else. I had myself a number of incidents that took place and stories with the Shaykh rahmatullahi alayhi, which is not in the book that I'm reading. I'm just, as I said, I'm going to just read from here and there. Whenever somebody praises him, he will be burst into tears. Rahimahullah, one day he had a phone call from a sister, and she was narrating to him a dream. And she was interpretation of the dream. She said that she saw the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then she caught up with the Prophet of Allah and she asked him, who can I refer to after your death? If you're not there, he said, refer to Muhammad. While she's talking on the phone, Sheikh Al-Albani, he just almost getting like, he just wasn't crying. He was crying, he couldn't hold himself. Something that he couldn't take it. And he couldn't talk to her. Call was terminated. And it's only you could see it, the phone call that made Sheikh Al-Albani cry. One day he was invited to the masjid, and the Sheikh had thousands of people coming to the masjid to see the Sheikh. And it was during Ramadan. The person who introduced him said, Alhamdulillah, we're so happy that we got the scholar beside us, and this is scholar, mashallah. After he finished the praise and all of this, he gave the microphone to the Sheikh Al-Albani. Sheikh Al-Albani said, Ashkuru, I thank the person who had, by the way, the one who was talking, he was a student of knowledge, like a mini Sheikh, student of knowledge. Ashkuru, I thank the person that he said, but I'm going to say to you guys, I am like this parable which is known, Inna al-bughatha fi ardina yastansiru, meaning the small bird in a land where there's no big birds, it makes the people believe that he's what? Big. Do you understand? Bughath is a small bird. But when he comes to a land where there is no big birds, he makes himself like an eagle. The small makes himself an eagle. So you're looking at me as an eagle, but I'm not an eagle, I'm a small bird. But because there is no other bigger birds than me, that you think I'm an eagle. I'm not. Then he said, I only am going to say to him what the Siddiq al-Akbar, Abu Bakr, had said as a reply to a person who had praised him. And that is, and he started crying. Shaykh Rahmatullah. Allahumma aj'alni khayran mimma yadhunnun wa la tu'akhidni bima yaqulun waghfir li ma la ya'lam. O Lord, make me better than what they think. Allahumma aj'alni khayran mimma yadhunnun wa la tu'akhidni bima yaqulun, and do not hold me responsible for what they say as from the praise. I didn't ask for this praise. And forgive for me, O Lord, things they don't know about. The thing that I do between four walls, nobody knows, except for Allah. And I started crying the Shaykh. We have seen how humble the Shaykh. The Shaykh comes with a mashallah, his thawb is up to half of his shin. Half of his shin. He's got a topi like that. And he's, subhanAllah. And when I saw him, he was in his late 70s. He died when he was 86 years old. And that was 1990, exactly, when I saw the Shaykh, rahmatullah alayhi. And when I saw the Shaykh, it's a long story, but I'm just saying that I read one of the books of his, and in which, in his, he was talking about hadith in a Shama al-Muhammadiyya, where, he had said, according to this hadith, that the person might kiss the hand of his father, his mother, hand. That's no problem, because it took place at the time of the Prophet of Allah, Fatima kissing her father, the Prophet ﷺ. Then he said also it is allowed, because from the athar, from the Sahaba, that the person can kiss the scholar's hand, but not to take it as a fashion or a habit. And also the Shaykh, you're going to kiss his hand, he doesn't, push for it. You see the Sufis, the deviant people, and the ones who are murideen, follow them. You see that Shaykh, he extends his hands like that for the others to hold it and kiss it. Here, take it, kiss it, come on, kiss my hand. Okay. Whereas the real scholar, he will not do like this. So when I read this, the following Jumu'ah, because I go to every Jumu'ah, I used to go to see Sheikh. He used to come to a particular masjid. So I was early there. I had to really travel. It's not really easy. It's not really, I had to take two transport. I don't have a car. When I went there, I was before the Sheikh. The Sheikh entered. When he enters, like a king had entered the masjid. Everybody's on him. So straight away, I shook, because I wanted just to shake the hand of the Sheikh and talk to him. So when I shook his hand, because I was too fast, my hand did not grab the whole palm of his, half. And he said to me, this is not a musafaha, this is half shake. Then he releases he made me to release my hand, and then he put my hand in full into his hand. I was doing like this. So I'll just grab it. This is half shake. You want a full shake. When he did that, I held his hand and I want to kiss him. Even he is in his 80s when I met him that time. He's so powerful that he pulled his hand down. I couldn't take it and kiss him. So I said, Sheikh, but you have just read in your books that you're allowed to kiss the hand of the scholar. He said to me, yes, the scholar. You know what he said? He said, yes, the scholar. That means what? I am not a scholar. Allah yarhamak. If the Sheikh is not a scholar, who is the scholar? Top one at that time. Nobody can. Why Sheikh Ibn Baz? All of them beneath him. Rahmatullah ala Sheikh. If he's not a scholar, who is the scholar? He's a scholar, I said. That's how humble he was. What's wrong? He said, I thought the microphone is not loud enough, like the last time. But Sheikh Al-Albani died 2nd of October 1999, 23rd of Jumaadaa Al-Akhirah, 1420. He was 86 years old. And the Sheikh, Rahmatullah alayhi, did not want to be delayed in his burial, did not want more people to come. As soon as he died, Sheikh Al-Albani, Rahmatullah alayhi, he was buried. He died after the sunset of that day. And he asked to be buried in a local cemetery. In a local cemetery. And that cemetery is not far away. The cemetery is only about 10 minutes walk from his house. And that cemetery, people, they don't really bury in it. They bury in the main one, which is outside the city. You need a car to go there, about 3/4 of an hour. So Rahmatullahi ala Shaykh, he wanted to be carried on the shoulders, not to be put into this car that you see. Not to be buried in the sunnah. So he was carried in from his house to the cemetery. At that time, 1999, we don't have that sort of technology as much as now. Not everybody's got mobile at that time. So most of it landlines. So he died after Maghrib, buried after Isha. Now, people just told other people. There's no radio, there's no, like a newspaper. Such a way. People telling people, each person telling the other person, Sheikh Al-Albani died, come. I was told by Sheikh Mashhur, Rahmatullah, Habibullah, well-known scholar, he called, Rahmatullah, he's keen. Said, Abu Suhaib, don't miss. Well, Sheikh Al-Albani died. SubhanAllah, he told me. So I took I can't remember, I took my father's car, or I took a transport, and I went there. Because the land was so hard from rocks, they had to bring the municipality to dig with a compressor to take the rocks away, because the land was like a mountainous. And he wanted to bury in lahd. Lahd is not like the normal chuck, a hole, and you lower the person down, and then you put slabs, and then you put the sand on top of it. That's called shaq. Sheikh Al-Albani wanted to be the sunnah, which is the lahd. Lahd, let's say this is the Qibla direction, which is the one that we're praying to now. I want to bury somebody here. We dig there. We dig about 1 meter low. Then after that, we dig a niche towards the Qibla. Okay, now that niche is enough for a person to be in it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So he will dig this way and then that way. He will dig here so the person can, two people can stand up, when they dig, about 1.5 meters, 2 meters sometimes. Then after that, we'll start digging what? A niche in that wall, which is underneath towards the Qibla. That niche will be equivalent, I would say, 0.5 meter in height, so that the person can be, or maybe just 75 centimeters, and length about 2 meters, so the person can go inside. So that's his grave. So when you put the sand, you're not putting it on top of the person, putting it what? Beside him, blocking the hole. Are you following me? Yes. Follow me? Yeah, that's how it's called. And Baqi al-Qarqa, they do that in Saudi Arabia. Sheikh Al-Bani was buried, rahmatullahi alayhi. From the things that we want to share with you, that Sheikh Al-Bani, it's not in the book here, when he married Al-Fadl, last wife of his, these people have honeymoon. Honeymoon. Sheikh Al-Bani got one, this is honeymoon. But anyway, this is the first, first nights. The first nights always the person is what? He's with his wife, cuddling his wife and all of that. So one day she woke up, she says, and she sees the Sheikh Al-Albani is not there beside her. What's happening? So she started to look for him. And she saw the light from underneath the door where his library. He spends his time in the library. It's about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. So he's inside, locking the door on him. Okay, and there's a light. The Sheikh has got like one of these lights that you could pull down. Call it a kaka, the cake. You put it down, it's got a big bulb there. You put it down. So he reads and the light is on top of him. So it's like a table lamp, but it's not a table lamp. This is a ceiling lamp. Goes down. You see, you know what I'm talking about. He brings it down. And rahmatullah ala Sheikh. As soon as she opened the door on the Sheikh, he said, you left me. So he laughed. He said, yes, this is my other lover. So he's infatuated with his library more than he was with his wife. So yeah. This is my other lover. He loves the Shaykh. Every time you come to him in his books, rahmatullahi alayhi. And when you go to his library, it's amazing. He built it. He's the one who made it. The system in it. He's got, his writings a long time ago. He used to write in carrier bags, paper carrier bags. He doesn't have papers. The yellow ones. We don't have yellow ones, carrier bags. I don't know if you've seen them in your country. كيس الورق أصفر هو. Yellow, not yellow, yellowish. Very old. That's how he used to write on it. So the Sheikh now is having like his papers hanging like you hang your clothes on the hanging line. So he's got like a peg holding the paper, and this peg is attached to a rope. This rope goes into a pulley all the way, so from here to there. And it's all of it like clothes, it's not clothes, papers or writing. Do you understand me? If he wants something, he will pull the rope, will come to him. Do you understand that? Those papers of his, subhanAllah, amazing. Amazing. One Sheikh, now he took all of these ideas from the Sheikh Al-Albani. This person, he had you could see the upgrade of this pulley, the upgrade. He made the blacksmith to come and design something for him where it's a big, massive thing that would rotate, and it's got 4 corners, like a cube. The amount of books in that big thing, because it's from the floor, because it's really heavy. And it is as well attached to the metal in the ceiling. And it's got like 4 faces. And it's full of books, and he rotates it. Sheikh Al-Halabi. This one has got about 300, 400 books, this little thing. Whatever. So the Sheikh will be right, the ones which is all the time is using. Those books is always that time using. Sheikh Al-Halabi, his library is about, Allahu Akbar. You see this masjid of yours? 5 times. 5 times this one. Easy. Upstairs, there are rooms. And all of them books. Books in the ceiling, books on the floor, books everywhere. And there are some books which hasn't been shelved yet. It was on the floor. Amazing. Subhanallah. Sheikh Al-Halabi was a student of Sheikh Al-Albani. Sheikh Al-Albani's books was transferred to Medina because he was in love with Medina. I mean, he taught in the Medina 2 years, university. And after his death, he made a will that after I die, all my books to be shipped to Medina. So there is now at the moment in the Masjid of the Medina, Masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, a room called the Library of Sheikh Al-Albani, Albani's library, till today. So you can go there. I want to see it. It's locked. You go there inside and you could read, but you're not allowed to borrow books from it. And all the writings of the Sheikh on top of these books, his notes, got a very nice writing, the Sheikh. So he dedicated that library to the students of Al-Madinah, so they could benefit from it. Rahmatullahi alayhi. So this is introduction, right, regarding the Sheikh Al-Albani, Rahmatullahi alayhi. Now we come to the book itself. The book that we chose, this is the English interpretation of it. If I take the introduction out and start with the book, so the book starts from here. If I take the index and all of that away, and the glossary, so it's from page 16, from page 17 to page 60. How much is that? Say 20 to 60, 40, 43 pages. 43 pages. That's the book. And what's the book? It's a lecture. See, it's a lecture. It's been written, taken from a lecture, recorded, and it's been written. And the lecture was made in an institute in Amman, religious faculty. And that was 1973. Makes it what? 50 years ago. This lecture. 50 years ago. Sheikh Al-Albani, he had in this treatise, which is at the moment, you could say, the solution for our weakness, talked about 2 things which are very important. Tasfiyah or Tarbiyah. Tasfiyah means filterization, purification. Okay, Tarbiyah means cultivation, bringing up. What he's saying, in order to go back to our triumph, we need first of all to filter the religion from all these false ideologies that crept into it. And after we have this clean source, we start to teach those youth, those generation onto that. That's called cultivation. And I like one of the scholars who have given an example to understand what is Tasfiyah and Tarbiyah. There was a village or a city, whatever you want to call it, where there was a ruler, there's people to be ruled. And in that city or that village, there's a river. That river is the main source for those people to drink. And the people were healthy and strong. No enemy would dare to come to invade them. Then the people began, after a while, to be lazy. Started throwing dirt into the water, washing their clothes into the water, in the source, throwing the dirt, which is to do with, like, let's say, any to do with rubbish, they put it in the water. The water became polluted. People, they drink from that water. When they drink from polluted water, what happens to their bodies? It's weaker. And weaker, until they became, all of them, weak. They became vulnerable. Enemies want to attack them now. They're weak. Right. So now the village want to get ready for those enemies. Otherwise they'll be killed. Some of them, they said, the solution is to go and change this ruler. This ruler is rubbish. He's bad man. Put him down and vote for somebody else. And I think we will be fighting those enemies. Others said, no, no, no. Even if we change the leader, we don't have enough weapons. Let's import weapons from outside in order to defend ourselves. Others said, no, let's go and ask for help from outsiders, even they're not upon the same religion of ours, to help us against these enemies. The ones who are old and prudent and they're wise, they said, no matter what you're going to do, we're going to be defeated. As long as this water is polluted, and as long as we drink it from that water, we will be staying weak. The best thing is to clear this water and clean it and filterize it. Clean that water, filterize it. And after that, the people start drinking what? Healthy water. And they will gain the power. So now let's give you what is the village? The village is Islam. What is the river? Quran and Sunnah. That's the source. The village is Islam, and the people are Muslims. The Quran and Sunnah. Quran, wrong interpretation for the verses. A hadith which is not authentic, being crept into being thrown into the source. So the source is not clean now. People taking from that source become weak. So if in order for us to get back onto our feet, let's clean our sources. Let's return back to the original, which is the Sahaba companions. And this generation will start to take from the clean source, and then we'll be strong. No enemies will dare to come to us. That's called Al-Tasfiyah or Al-Tarbiyah. This whole lecture is all about. And it's all of it based upon قال Allah, قال Rasul. Allah said, the Prophet ﷺ said. Do we have some brothers who can come and help us with this? So we could really read from the English. I would like, inshallah, I've sent you a link. We got the PDF file. Put it on your, you could print it, like I printed. I made this one. I didn't buy it. I made it. I just like printed. And then after that, I stapled it. And I made it like a book. Okay. I don't know if you could buy it.
Share that link to one you sent to some of this.
No. Right. And I want somebody to read as well for us, because they read and elaborate. And we do quickly, inshallah. Okay, so this Tasfiyah Tarbiyah, if I'm going to start from the beginning, I would like to. Can you read? You're not good reading. I need somebody to read so I could elaborate. I can't read and elaborate at the same time. You have to have the book. You have to have the book. Where is the Bizan, the bead?
Bizan is I think it's at Medina now.
Okay. Fine. I will translate from my own translation. I'm not going to go through the books. I can't read small print as well. So it starts here, which we call it the brief biography. Not brief biography, I've done that. What does it say here? Okay, yes, that's the one. Right. So this says here, Tasfiyah Tarbiyah, and the Muslims' need for them. This is a lecture being delivered by Sheikh Muhammad Nasruddin Al-Albani in the religious faculty in Amman. It says here 30 years ago, but it's actually that's when this book was done. But it's actually now 50 years ago, 1973. Sheikh Al-Albani, he had showed us the correct methodology we should be upon, and he had combined this methodology in two words, Tasfiyah wa Tarbiyah, filterization and cultivation. Sheikh Al-Albani had lived all his life while he was walking into this or going onto this and steadfast onto this methodology, trying to clarify or clear and filterize the aqidah from whatever false aqidah had lingered to it, from the shirk or those myths, and also the sunnah from whatever had lingered to it, by making sure that it is the weak hadith is to be distinguished from the authentic hadith. Shaykh Al-Albani starts with the lecture as follows: إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا, which is khutbat al-hajah. All praises due to Allah. We praise Him, seek His aid, and ask His forgiveness. We seek refuge in Allah from the evil of ourselves and from the evil of actions. Whomsoever Allah guides, none can misguide, and whomsoever Allah leads astray, none can guide. I bear witness that there is none worthy of worship except for Allah alone, having no partner, and I bear witness that Muhammad is a slave and His messenger. To proceed, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha haqqa tuqatih, O you who believe, fear Allah as it should be feared, die not except in a state of Islam with complete submission to Allah. Ya ayyuhan nasu taqu rabbakum, O you people, fear your Lord, the one who created from a single person, from him He created his wife, and from them both He created many men and women. And fear Allah, through whom you demand your mutual rights, and do not cut the relations of your relatives. Surely Allah is ever and all watch over you. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha wa qulu qawlan sadida, O you who believe, fear Allah and speak always the truth. He will rectify, He will forgive your deeds, He will forgive your sins, and He will rectify your deeds. And he whosoever obeys Allah and His Messenger has indeed achieved a great achievement. Then he says, أما بعد, to proceed, فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله, the best of talks is the book of Allah, and the best of guidance is the guidance of His Messenger Muhammad, may peace and blessing be upon him. And then the most evil of all matters are the ones innovated, for every newly innovated matter is an innovation, and every innovation is a misguidance, and every misguidance will lead to the hellfire. So this is khutbat al-hajah. Khutbat al-hajah, as we know, this is where the Prophet ﷺ, whenever he makes a speech or whenever he makes a wedding, which is a marriage, he will start with this khutbat al-hajah. So khutbat al-hajah basically is something that you put it before, you say it before, something that you need to do it, something that you want Allah Azza wa Jal to help you to do it. That is called khutbat al-hajah. So it starts with Ya ayyuhalladhina inna alhamdulillah, and it ends up with the end, which is wa kullu bid'atin wa kullu dalalatin fi an-nar. That's khutbat al-hajah. طيب, alhamdulillah. Now we know khutbat al-hajah and its importance to revive it. It's very important, ikhwani, to revive khutbat al-hajah. And every time you start your lecture or your khutbah or your symposium, whatever, then you start with khutbat al-hajah. It's very important. And alhamdulillah, these days we find so many people are actually starting their talks with khutbat al-hajah. And just to, here's a point. Some people, they add to khutbat al-hajah. They put things there which the Prophet ﷺ did not say them. So, for example, he says, Inna alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh, wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa sayyiati a'malina. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستغفره ونستهديه. He said, إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه. Why do you add things? Always stick to what the Prophet of Allah said. Don't add, don't subtract, because each word carries a meaning. Each word has got its weight. So it's important not to add or change in this khutbah al-haja in order to get what Allah wants, subhanahu wa ta'ala wants him to give you and grant you from the barakah. Then it comes to the following thing, following item. Sheikh rahmatullahi alayhi, he says, قال وبعد أما بعد فنحن اليوم today كما تعلمون جميعا, as you all of you know, في زمن وصل فيه المسلمون, in a time where the Muslims had reached a limit that no way there will be worse than that limit. For a person who believes in Allah and His message, and that is from humiliation and also being slaverized by others. So he says that this humiliation had been imposed upon us, regrettably saying, on all the Muslim countries and lands. And rightly so, ya Akhwani. We know for a fact that Allah al-Musta'an, we are in a time that, we have lots of humiliation. And the Sheikh Al-Albani said this about 50 years ago. If he lives to see now what's happening, whatever humiliation he had is nothing compared to what we are having at the moment. As you know, Allah Musta'an. So this paragraph, you could see some of the scholars, they use it. So when we find, for example, there is fitan, tribulation taking place, okay, you'll find the scholars talking about that, that we have reached a stage where nothing can be worse than this. So, for example, Lisanuddin Ibn al-Khatib, in his book Al-Ihata fi Akhbari Gharnat, he's talking about what happened to Andalusia. In spite, and he said how bad the Muslims had reached that time. That's why the non-Muslims were able to take everything back, because the Muslims were far from their religion. Also, the Imam Ibn Kathir, Fil Kamil Fil Tarikh, he did this as well. And this is to emphasize what the Prophet ﷺ said, ما من عام إلا والذي بعده شر من حتى تلقوا ربكم. There's not a single year would pass except for the one which is following. It will be worse than the year had passed until you meet your Lord. Isbiru, be patient. This is hadith being mentioned by Anas. When the people wanted to make an uprising against Al-Hajjaj. Hajjaj is the worst person in history. So many Muslims were killed on his hand. 120,000 from the companions. 120,000 were killed, some of them companions. This man is the worst. And some of the people wanted to erupt against him. So they came to Anas radiallahu anhu, asking for help because he's a companion. He said, Smiru, be patient, don't do that. For verily, Prophet of Allah, he said that a single year would pass except for the following would be even worse. Okay? Sheikh Al-Albani, when he says about his time in 1973, that is, we call it the 70s. We had people not abiding by the deen. Women, they're not putting the hijab. At that time as well, Palestine, they were taken by the Israel. Most of the Gulf countries were under the colonization. Okay, so that is the time where Sheikh Al-Albani had delivered his talk. Then he says, we always ask ourselves, and السبب, about the reason that made the Muslim to reach such low stage, humiliating stage, and disgraceful. He said the secret in them reaching such a level, okay, we want to know what it is, and also we want to ask about the remedy. So in order to have salvation from this humiliation, okay? So, and the opinions, they vary from one person to another, and each person comes with a solution. And you think this is the way forward, okay? So is the Shaykh Al-Albani rahmatullah alayhi, he's saying that knowing and diagnosing the disease is half of the remedy. We say in Arabic, معرفة الدواء نصف الدواء. معرفة الداء نصف الدواء. Means if you know the disease, you got half of the remedy. So we need to diagnose the disease, a correct diagnose. Okay, so we could look what is taking place at the moment. Okay, and what are the partisans? What sort of conflicts do they have between them? If you don't understand your disease, you will not be able to bring the correct remedy. Okay, and the remedy is always by going back to the Quran and the Sunnah. So, for example, we have the hypocrisy disease. Hypocrisy. What is the remedy for that? The remedy is to learn from the ahadith of the heart doctor, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Hanbala, he says one day that he went to his house after coming from the Prophet of Allah, and he just saw himself that with the Prophet of Allah, he is with Allah, mentioned in Quran and Sunnah, paradise, hellfire. As soon as he leaves the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he goes to his house, he's cuddling the children and the wife and all of that. So he said, Hanbala is a hypocrite. Hanbala is a hypocrite. So he came out of his house shouting, Hanbala is a hypocrite. Hanbala is a hypocrite. Abu Bakr met him. What's wrong, Hanbala? He told him. So, well, I'm a hypocrite as well. I'm a hypocrite as well. I do the same thing. So they went to the Prophet of Allah. That's the doctor. Messenger of Allah, what is happening here? Every time we're with you, you remind us of Qala Allah, Qala Rasuluh, hellfire, paradise. And then as soon as we leave you, we go to the house and we forget about the deen and dunya. He said, oh, Hanbala, if you leave and stay as you were with me, angels will come and shake your hands. And you become an angel. Because if you're going to be staying all the time exactly as you were with the Prophet of Allah, it means your iman is going to be, mashallah, once it doesn't go up and down, you're like an angel. And the angel will come and shake your hands. But he said to him, sa'a wa sa'a. The person is 1 hour and 1 hour, meaning 1 hour deen and dhikr of Allah, and 1 hour he has to do his life, work, wife, children, all of that, part of your deen. Even though you're not making remembrance of Allah or recitation of the Quran. We are human beings, ikhwan. Iman goes up and down, and we are exposed to sins as well. So that is what the Prophet ﷺ meant here. Also, we have Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. He said, people came to the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Messenger of Allah, we find something in ourselves, we dare to say it. He said, did you find it? Yes, Messenger of Allah. He said, this is the clear sign of Iman. Some of the hadith, he said, it's very better for us to drop down from heaven to the earth rather than to speak out what we are thinking about. Sometimes, thoughts and evil thoughts invade your brains. So when they came to the Prophet of Allah, he said, we can't even say it. He's talking about Allah Azza wa Jalla, things that I don't want to as well start to make some thoughts in your minds here. So the Prophet said, did you find it? He said, well, this is Iman. This is Sarih al-Iman. This is a clear sign that you are a mu'min, because they're always the person who's mu'min, shaitan attacks him. Clear sign of Iman. By this, alhamdulillah, we finish here and we start, inshallah, from paragraph 4. And I know that this problem that the Prophet had mentioned and described in some of his ahadith, and he had showed us the remedy. That's where we're going to start, inshallah. And before I start, I would like the brothers in, if we're going to be having like this, call off the class. So we want people to come and to be serious. Bring everybody, tell them family-wise. No point for me to go all the way from there to come here just for 2 or 3 people here. I would like, inshallah, to make an effort. Jazakumullah khair for that. And as I said, online, and with my student, by the way, Ahmad, is in the hospital. Please make dua for him. He's been in the hospital for more than 2 weeks now. That's why we don't have advertisement for this class, but still have, mashallah, good turnout. Jazakumullah khair. Do you have any questions regarding what we have? Please go ahead. The questions from the online, maybe you are ready to ask question. Go ahead, please. Okay. I'll ask for the second time. Do you have any questions from online? There isn't. Any question from the brothers here? Okay. There's no questions. Okay, Tasfiyah Al-Tarbiyah, as I said, please bring it. That one, print it, it would be better. So you could write your notes on top of it, inshallah. Okay. So this is the first class. I think I'll finish it in 7 classes. I think I'll finish it, inshallah, in 7 classes, even less. I try to be abbreviating. Now, yeah, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب